to Larry the Alchemist, where we discuss all things heavy metal and hard rock. And welcome to another edition of Midweek Maiden. This is where we get together on Wednesdays to talk some Iron Maiden. And for this episode, I'm going to be listing for you my 5 favorite Iron Maiden album covers. Iron Maiden is a band famous for their album covers, famous for a lot of things, their album covers being one of them. They had fantastic covers right from the beginning, working with artist Derek Riggs early on. Derek Riggs would do all their art up to Fear of the Dark was the first record then without Derek Riggs. And so there is a continuity through all the album covers. The album covers always matched what was going on the records or the theme of the records. They were always well thought out. They were always well done and stuff you could see inside the album covers, little details and stuff like that, especially during the Derek Riggs era. They may have lost their way a little bit after Derek left, but I think the last so many Iron Maiden records, the album covers have been really, really good. In the Return of Bruce era, maybe Dance of Death being the exception to that, an album cover that usually Maiden fans don't care for, but the last so many Maiden records, I think the covers have been really cool on them. All right, so I did studio albums and live albums. I didn't get into the 12-inch singles, the singles covers and everything like that. That would be fun to do that with all of, I don't have all of those, and it's incredible when you really think about it and you start lining all these up. I was doing a little research on this and I had found a website where it was showing a lot of the Derek Riggs artwork across the singles and the album covers, and it was just incredible stuff there is, and how iconic some of those images, even from the singles, like you think of the Trooper single, Eddie with the flag, that's still an image that they show on a backdrop today when they play, so it's really incredible. It always looked great on t-shirts, it was just always so well thought out. It was never album covers were never an afterthought for Iron Maiden. It was always a big thing, and it shows. They have a lot of iconic album covers. But these are my 5 favorite. A little tricky because I had to separate the music from the cover. I just had to solely think about the cover. But all right, here we go. Number 5 for me is from the Return of Bruce, the Rob era of the band, The Final Frontier. I always dug Eddie when he was futuristic or Space Eddie. And this has got that. The guy with the cracked helmet here. There's a lot of little details in the pictures. I like the moon here in the back, and I really like the inside here where you've sort of got these alien fossil skulls here, space skulls of Eddie. I think that is really cool. So this is my favorite from the Rob era of the band. All right, that's number 5, and that's not going to stay up there. Number 4 for me is Somewhere in Time. This is Derek Riggs. This one is great because there's so many of these little details in here, things that are nods to their past, the clubs they played, and just little references to other things here in the cover. You can just sort of sit at it, look at it all day long. Again, I always dug futuristic Eddie. The back cover is filled with all kinds of little details. So this one for me gets on my list because of all the details inside the cover. Okay, number 4, that was number 4. Number 3 for me is, I'm going to go with, I couldn't get this one out of the plastic sleeve, Live After Death. What can you say about this? I just think it's an iconic image. I love the idea. It fits right in with the title, Eddie exploding out of the ground. I love sort of the beam there hitting his head, the tombstones having fun. Looking at the tombstone there, reading what's on the tombstone, and the stuff on the back cover here, the more of the other tombstones and everything, I just think is really cool. And you can kind of open up this one is stuck inside the, there we go. You can open the whole thing up here, and it makes for one big cover. And then, although we're not talking inside covers, the inside cover of this is really cool also. But I just love the way this is all like one big thing here, and I just think that's a super cool Eddie right there. Okay, number 2 for me, iconic, Into the Number of the Beast. so cool that Eddie is controlling the devil here, pulling the strings. Just loved the look of this cover. I always loved too the album name here, the way they did that in red and everything. Back cover is decent, but the front cover there, it's just such an iconic heavy metal image and such a legendary album cover that would get them into some trouble and get some people picketing outside their shows. But it's just, it looks so good on a t-shirt, you know, you can't deny, can't fight that. You know, so here again, you know, this is Derek Riggs, and just legendary. All right, number one for me, this is one of the more simple ones, but man, it just really makes a statement, and it's the first one. I mean, so many people talk about, I was a little too young for this to experience this right when it first came out, but people talk about who were older, walking into a record store, not knowing who Iron Maiden was, and just seeing this and being like, just jumps right out at you. And it's very simple considering how more elaborate the Derek Riggs covers would get as time went on, but it just sums up Iron Maiden here, you know, in the story that this was originally, you know, supposed to be like a punk rocker, and he just sort of gave him maybe a little bit more hair or something like that to make him look a little more heavy metal. But just the eyes on Eddie there, and you know, it isn't quite the Eddie. He's got a little bit of a slim face there, a little bit of long jawline, but it's just such a simple and powerful cover. The sort of back wall here, he's roaming, he's prowling the streets at night, type of thing. It's just so iconic, and I remember as a kid, you know, seeing that, and it's simple, but it just really jumps right out at you, and it just sets up the whole thing for Iron Maiden. I mean, you know, right from their first album, this is their image, and Eddie would stick with them to this very day. There is no mascot in heavy metal that's as popular as Eddie. He rules them all. So, all right, there you go. There's my 5 favorite Iron Maiden album covers. Let me know what your 5 favorite Iron Maiden album covers are in the comments down below. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. And until we see you again, make sure you stay heavy, stay metal.